Listen, I don't know about you, but I started a business so I could do this. Travel, be with friends, be with family, create memories. I didn't do it to sit at the computer all day. I didn't do it so that I could just be in countless emails and Zoom meetings. I did it to create opportunities for myself and opportunities for others. So listen, if that's something that interests you, enjoying time with your friends, being out and about, definitely drop by Erica Williams' Classy Climb blog. Check out the YouTube channel. We've got over 2,000 videos of free information that's actually changed people's lives. People actually post their new jobs, their new careers, their new businesses all the time over at the channel. All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming on in. Okay, so this is your girl Erica, Classy Climb blog. I hope you guys are enjoying the show. I hope you enjoy this while I'm at lunch. I'm at a conference and I'm at lunch right now, so this is pre-recorded. But I have a really great show for you. It's called How Elites Rigged Society, and it's being reset, reskilled. Also, I'm going to say something controversial in this because the video I'm playing essentially says Donald Trump's not a conservative because, again, conservatives have moral values and also hold the line on things, and I agree. But there's more to that. But anyway, so long story short, let me show you a few clips. And again, people are going to beat a lot of Americans just by thinking long term. The reason I pivot, because you need to pivot, and I've talked about several of the business owners out here finally kind of catching up to what I've been saying for years that I know is a problem. Even when I talked about October 2022 and October 2023 being significant months where so many business owners no longer could get credit, could no longer get funding, could no longer get lending like they were getting before. All of a sudden things changed. I kept telling people there is a shift in the marketplace. And again, but you'll hear, well, there's no recession, Erica. They didn't declare it a recession. And again, they keep changing the definition of recession, just like they took coffee. When coffee went up 75%, they took it out of the inflation index. Coffee. All right. So now, you know, what are they going to use? Just, it's just funny. If you look, they don't have utilities in there. They don't have a lot of things in there. The things that actually make up the cost of living, which is your housing, your gas, the things that need to be in there are not truly being in there. So the calculations are completely off anyway. Long and the story short, you see a lot of changes are going to happen because people are going to be forced into it. As you see, like every year, anytime there's a recession, people go back to college. They go hide in college for 2 or 3 years, and then they'll spend a year when they're done with college saying, oh, I finished college and I'm trying to find a job. But if you ask them, did they take up internships? Did they take up apprenticeships while they were there? No, they didn't do any of that. Did you go to college day? Like your whole job while you're there is getting a job. Your whole job there is to leave there with the internship. And so, and again, a majority of internships are paid. So this kind of thing that people are using people and not paying them is false. So let me go ahead and show this first thing. And this is part of why we're not convincing. We're just suggesting that you reskill.
Yo, did you guys know any of this?
All right. Okay. So I've showed that enough. So listen, part of why I'm showing this, you're talking about 700 stores, 200 stores, 800 stores, 600 stores. If you look back a year or so ago when Biden was in, they kept saying, oh, you know, the employment is real low. The unemployment is so low. Maybe like 4,000 people lost a job. You know, you're like, nah, dude, like that's not what I'm feeling on the streets. That's not the data. That's not like these places are closing. All this stuff was scheduled to close before 2025. People knew these places were closing in 2022, 2023. There were emails, press releases. There was long-term economic planning of a lot of these companies telling you they were closing this. So even the comment in the section where somebody's like, well, Amazon's killing them all. That's a lazy answer. That's not a true answer. And that's not acknowledging so many Gen X and baby boomers aren't shopping like that, right? They're in an older, downsizing, removing and liquidating phase of life. A lot of young people are starting to acquire, but they won't acquire crap. They just won't do it. So again, when Biden was in, it was saying, "Oh, it's like 4,000 job loss." Now Trump's in there like, "Oh no, we recalculated. It's 170,000 people lost their job." That didn't just happen because he just got in office, right? These things were already in process. Same with February, very weak numbers on the job market and also in sales of many companies. So a lot of people saw that, right? That's already been seen. That's already out here for everybody to see. Okay, let me go show you another one. The next one. And so again, this is where when I talk about people from other countries are planning for the next 20 years of their life. They're having a kid with a plan. And I don't know. I know y'all hate hearing that. You're like, no, they're not, Erica. They're just breeding babies. And no, listen, they're having kids with a plan. This is one of the examples. This is also very popular in Chicago and with Chinese citizens. They're doing this in Australia. They've been doing it in Australia for 20 years. Now they're doing it. They've been doing it in America for like 20 years at this point. This is why when you see all these people that are here and they're like, they're not a citizen, but they have a green card. How's that possible? Because they had a kid here in the 1990s and the late 2000s. And that kid's 21 now. And so he can come here to go to college and his parents can apply for him a green card to accompany him. Again, this is chain migration. A lot of people keep ignoring this data, but let's just show you this.
American passport. The average wage in America is roughly 4 to 5 times greater than that of the average Russian. And once the child turns 21, the mother and father can also apply for their own green card. And although this practice isn't as common as before because of recent crackdowns, it is still a thing that happens quite frequently in the United States. And other countries that have now become an epicenter for birth tourism include countries like Argentina. In fact, it's now one of the most popular places for pregnant Russians to fly to. Did you know that every single year, thousands of pregnant Russian women fly to South Florida to give birth, and they pay between $20,000 to $50,000 to brokers who would arrange their travel, documentations, and even stay. And for many of these individuals, they often have to sell their homes or cars in order to afford this trip. And these individuals are only a small part of a wave of birth tourists who come to the United States for the sole purpose of giving birth. And other sizable groups include women from China as well as Nigeria. In fact, a city like Sunny Isles Beach, a city north of Miami, is even nicknamed Little Moscow. And for many of these women, it makes a lot of economic sense to do this. For example, for $30,000, you won't really be able to buy an apartment for your child. Instead, it's much more advantageous to be able to gift your child an American passport. The average wage in America is roughly 4 to 5 times greater than that of the average Russian. And once the child turns 21, the mother and father can also apply for
Diamond Dave, if he's here, if he's seeing this, or anybody from Florida in the chat, yo, what y'all know about Little Moscow? Somebody tell me some more about Little Moscow, okay? Only reason I bring this up is my mother has a Russian name, and there's only 3 women in the whole United States that have this name, and they're all over 80. So when people meet my mother, they're like, whoa, how'd you get that name? But it's a long story. But long story short, we went to Chicago. There used to be a restaurant there, and there's one here in New Braunfels. I think it's New Braunfels, and it has this historical old name. And my mom, we took a picture in front of it, of course. But I might have to see if there's any of those ladies in Little Moscow. You never know. It's always super cool history. We like to find out. But let me know if y'all in Florida, what y'all know about Little Moscow. But I love the comments. They're like, everybody hates America, but they coming over here. You know, what's considered trashy if you're poor, but classy if you're rich. And these people are selling their houses and their cars to get here. I want you to understand, this is a plan. This kid can turn 18, apply, go to college in America. And by the time he's done 4 years, he's got his engineering degree. He's got his stuff together. He's playing basketball. You see them tall Eastern European kids playing basketball everywhere. Your parents are now here legally. That's a 20-year plan. Think about how your mindset must be if you're in your home country. It's like a long going away party. It's like, look, you guys, we're leaving in 20 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, we're leaving, not today, but in 2045, we out of here, right? If you have a baby this year. And so it's like they're already planning for their family to have anchor in other places. Again, Argentina, after the World War II, Nazis fled to Argentina. You still have a significantly white parts of Brazil and Argentina that are German and also racist. And so, again, this is nothing new. This is the same as when this is why when you guys try to talk to me about passport bro stuff, I'm like, this isn't new stuff. It's just the fact that you're not going to marry and you're not going to buy land and you're not going to enrich yourself. You're going to go party, which is a thing. I get it. But people aren't understanding. It's a culture war moment. You're in a culture war with a person who is thinking future enough to come here, have a baby with an American passport, and know. And I just saw this at the postal office where they were all Latinas and they had a very fresh little tiny baby and they had to apply for the passport. And I'm thinking that baby was born here. Them parents can't even speak English to communicate with the daggone post office man. But that baby is going to have an American passport. That is thinking ahead. You're not going to beat people who are thinking 20 years ahead. Because if I'm in Russia for the next 20 years, we're just stacking cash so I can buy the best house possible. So I can have the best investment possible. So I can wave goodbye to all my family and friends and take my little kid over to America, or take my mother who's elderly by that chance, you know what I'm saying, by that age, with me. Like, I'm going to eat different. I'm going to act different. I'm going to take care of my health because, hey, I'm not back in America yet. This is something y'all have to think about. And this is not just a wealthy move, but people think it is. I mean, let me show you this other clip before I go into this long video I want to show you. Let me see here. This is somebody I want to bring on the channel. I'm gonna see if I can get them. You know, his name is Keith Evans. Again, you guys can go look him up. He's out of South Carolina, but he's like buying up trailers, right? A ton. Contractor, investor, husband. And so when you think of people who are multi-millionaires, I'm talking about, you can just go look.
If the bank loaned you $4 million, you spend $3.5 million on this, maybe $30,000 on this, might as well buy the boat and the truck too. Would you run to Costco and spend it all up? Or would you take that $4 million and buy 80 trailers? Why not do both? A few years back, I bought a 138 lot mobile home park for $235,000. Everybody thought I was crazy for doing it. It had over 100 water taps, over 80 septic tanks. The water taps alone worth $100,000. Septic tank worth $320,000, and had all the roads paved. I put 46 brand new mobile homes in there within the first year. This year, I plan to add the other 80 I need. That will bring in a gross income of around $138,000 a month. Of course, you got taxes, insurance, and management fees. I built a lot of homes over the years, but I also built a lot of trust with the bank. And I know rentals aren't for everyone, but I'm telling you, it's really worked out good for me. It's been one whole year. Make sure you follow me if you want to see how the numbers worked out. If the bank loan
okay. You know, I want to get him on the channel. I just think we're Carolina folk. He's South Carolina, I'm North Carolina. But at the end of the day, like, go look at his content is very, I mean, this is what this whole idea of, like, I'm gonna become a multimillionaire so I can go travel and vacation and goof off all the time. I'm like, all the multimillionaire people I know are still working. They have kids. They're making a good example for their kids. They're enjoying themselves. I mean, I just don't think y'all understand, like, it's not just laying around doing nothing. And even if you could lay around and do nothing, that's a different type of level, which I could show y'all a different type of level in this other clip. But
who forgets about $1 million closings? I was supposed to be in here yesterday at 11 o'clock. The closing was renewed in my line of credit on these 9 houses, but adding 3 more houses I had built on the same street. These 9 houses are probably one of the first major accomplishments that I had in my career. While I was building out an 88 lot subdivision, I also built these houses at the same time, using some of my profits to reinvest for myself. I don't care who you are. It's an accomplishment to have 12 really nice homes paid for. What I did, I turned around and got a line of credit against this. And at that time, they only appraised for around $800,000, but they loaned me $650,000 on a line of credit. A line of credit is where if you need the money, you write a check for it, you only pay interest on that money. Shortly thereafter, I built these 3 houses. They were paid for. With these 3 houses, I only got a line of credit against those for $250,000. So with that $650 and the $250, that puts us at $900,000. When these line of credits actually matured, I turn around and have these things combined together. And once I had them reappraised, how about these 12 houses appraised for $1.8 million? I was expecting to get 70 to 80%, but all the banker loaned was $1.1 million. To be honest with you, that kind of pissed me off. I really didn't forget about the closing. I was just trying to decide if I want to cut my nose off and spite my face or suck it up, buttercup. The line of credit.
Okay, so long story short, you just heard that. I hope that made sense. I know he went through a lot of numbers, but at the end of the day, built those homes, right? They're paid off, right? Paid, done, cashed out, and then took a line of credit against them. And then the bank, instead of going, yeah, you know, they're worth 1.8 million, but we're only going to give you 1.1 million, which is insulting. But think about that. that line of credit he can use all day, every day. And so this is why when people try to convince me everybody don't want to do blue collar work, Erica, people don't want to go into trades, I'm like, the people in the trades, if they got the head on right, they're 10 steps ahead of the game. If they got 10, 12 rentals all on one street, he's got a freaking $1 million line of credit. He can go do a lot of stuff. While you're trying to save nickels and dimes to go do a down payment on your first property, I'm sitting here telling you in tax deed, tax liens, and a land grab video. Well, we have it in a separate course thing, but long story short, we literally sit there and show you like you can pick up land lots all over the United States. You can pick up, there's a project over by Colleen somebody had sold for really low prices. And I was like, oh my God, like you're never going to get 3 acres for that little 20K ever again. But if people don't understand that this is how elites rig society, that you're watching TV thinking all they do is lay down in the bed and chill out, and they're on vacation on the islands all the time. Somebody in the chain of the generations had to go make the money, but also what is the person doing all day? This is where you have people doing drugs and getting depressed if they're not active or doing something. This is just a person who's, I really enjoy his content, but literally he's just going out being productive. You know what I mean? So it's not like, oh, look at them taking advantage of people. He's just going out being productive. Let me see. I had one that was going to show you about White Lotus and this French family that's in America that's super rich to this day, but I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna play that. I'm gonna do a whole separate video on kind of like American Indian and some of these wealthy families. You think they know they're Black. They know for a fact that they're Black. They know their genetics are American Black or an Indian, and they're taking, and they're just running it up to the bank. So that's a whole nother show. I'm not gonna do that on this show. Let me go show you this. This is David Brooks. I really enjoy his commentary on this. It took a lot of bravery to do this speech in front of this audience. If you actually Google who this audience is, it took a lot of bravery. And it takes bravery when something's popular to speak out against it. That's why when people say, well, Donald Trump's not a conservative, and they're like, oh, you shut your mouth. I'm like, no, he's not actually. Conservative, what conservative means is really at what they've turned it into is like attacking the left, but really it's supposed to be this kind of standing up for conservative issues, moral standing. Again, the 1990s culture war, which was funny because everybody that was in the culture war, all the senators that got elected, like divorced their wives or cheating on their wives. It was ridiculous, but it meant something, right? People find a little nice way to live and they're like, yeah, everybody should do that. That's why when some of y'all go, Erica, you're kind of being harsh on people. And I'm like, at the end of the day, when people want to complain about babysitting and child support and all this other stuff, you're like, those are all choices. Like, we give you enough choice in America to, hey, do whatever you want, dude, do whatever you feel. And that is the most dangerous thing I ever hear when people say, yeah, just do whatever you want. I'm like, no, doing what you want has consequences. Doing the right thing, doing the moral thing, doing the stand-up thing is the honorable thing. And then when you go outside that road, people get pissed off. It just is what it is, right? So let me show you this. And this is long, so I'm gonna break it up in a couple segments, but this is really impactful. I think this will change your life if you watch this.
So we members of the educated elite did some good things. We created the internet brunch and mocktails. You're welcome. We did some bad things. We designed a meritocracy designed around the skills we ourselves possess and rigged the game so we succeeded and everybody else failed. By age 12, American children of affluent kids are 4 grade levels above everybody else. By university age, rich kids are 77 times more likely to go to university or to Ivy League university than kids from poor schools. In adulthood, 54% of the people at elite workplaces went to the same 34 elite colleges. So we ended up creating a caste system. People with high school degrees die 9 years sooner than people with college degrees. People with high school degrees are 5 times more likely to have kids out of wedlock. People with high school degrees are 2.4 times more likely to say they have no friends. So we created a caste system, even though we pretend to be egalitarian. But the worst things we did were not material. America has a very strong economy. The worst things we did were spiritual.
Pause before we go there. Listen to those numbers. I mean, everybody in the comment, just put 12. Just put 12 in the comments for me. That's all I want. Put 12. By 12 years old, their kid is 4 grades up above you. This is why when I talk to y'all, when you're saying 2nd and 3rd grade and you start talking to parents about tutors and does your child read to you? And these people saying, oh, I didn't know my child was dyslexic. That just tells you all you need to know. They have no plan for this child. They're not invested in this child. And they may be good people who are like, Eric, I'm just so busy with work. I come home, I'm exhausted. I'm not married, so it's just one parent doing everything. I hear you on all that. I hear you on every single bit of that. But I'm telling you, by age 12, a lot is shown. You know, by age 12, my nephew could tell me all the next 10 years of steps he wanted to make and do and invest. And he was 12. I have a 9-year-old nephew now who is finishing homework in class, pissing teachers off. Like, oh, he's already finished the homework. We can put him in AP. Like, they've already AP tracked him. You know what I mean? For when he goes to the middle school and when he goes to the high school. And I really would prefer for him to put him in a private school, but it is a very good school in that particular neighborhood. Right now, my goal is to getting him to swim and play tennis. I think you have to know the children. You have to actively try to know the child and know what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are. If they're not doing good on math, they're running from you, they don't want to read to you, you need to lean into that. Again, the same 34 elite college. This is why I tell you all the time. When somebody tell you some little no-name college or they're wearing a hoodie shirt of some college you've never heard of, you're like, baby, if it ain't, depending on if you're in state, this is why when I hear people send their children out of state, I'm like, unless you're sending your child out of state to go to Vanderbilt, which I meet a lot of white people in Austin sending their children to Vanderbilt and to Dartmouth and to certain colleges. It is, what are you doing that for? You're wasting money. Unless they're going to go there and get connections and get married. That's really what college is for. It's a finishing school. It is a finishing school to get you onto the track you're supposed to be on. And I tell you this all the time. At East Carolina, we literally saw whole fraternities be working in banking. Wachovia, Wells Fargo at the time. And this was African-American fraternities. And then also I saw a lot of white fraternities who were already tracked to go to Wall Street, tracked to do insurance. I tell y'all that now all the time. Like, I joke with my family. I'm like, we have to start an insurance company. And they're always like, Erica, why you always keep saying this? And I'm like, because everything in our lives and the money I've seen go out of the window, in trucking and all kind of stuff in insurance, I've like, literally, it's a gold mine. It's just money. It's money on money. And you have to teach your sales and your staff how to talk with people accordingly. But yeah, it's a ton of money in insurance. David Beck here, Patrick Bet-David ran his way up to try to get a billionaire status off the back of insurance and off the back of MLM, and now off the back of media, right? But there's a difference between media money and older society, older elite. I own land and own houses. This is why I'm heavy this year on more land ownership, ranch being completed here soon in the next 2 years. Y'all just understand it's bigger than what you think, but play this again on your own. Again, by 12 years old, 4 grades ahead. So you can talk to some of these kids and they're traveling, they're on debate teams, and then your average kid can barely read or write at 12. It's ridiculous. So let's go.
Privatized morality and destroyed the moral order. George Marsden is a great historian who said, what gave Martin Luther King's rhetoric its power was the sense there's a moral order built into the universe. That if slavery is not wrong, nothing is wrong. If segregation is not wrong, nothing is wrong. We took that essential moral order that holds people together and we decided it's up to you to find your own truth, find your own values. Back in 1955, a great American journalist named Walter Lippmann understood this was going to be a big problem. He said, if what is right and wrong depends on what each individual feels, then we are outside the bounds of civilization. And so without a strong moral order, it's hard to have trust. It's hard to find your meaning in life. And so America, and I think Britain too, has become a sadder society. Rise in mental health, rise in suicide. 45% of high school students say they are persistently hopeless and despondent. Since 2000, the number of Americans without close personal friends is up by 4-fold. Since 2000, the number of people who say they are in the lowest happiness category is up by 50%. We've just become sadder. The third thing the educated elite has done, and this may not please you, is we produced Donald Trump. Some people think Donald Trump is a populist. Donald Trump and Elon Musk went to the University of Pennsylvania and Ivy League school and became billionaires. J.D. Vance went to Yale. Pete Hegseth went to Princeton and Yale. Stephen Miller went to Duke. Fox News types like Laura Ingraham went to Dartmouth, and they represent the educated elite. And the key factor of the educated elite is that they're not pro-conservative, they're anti-left. They don't have a positive vision, a conservative vision for society. They just want to destroy the institutions that the left now dominates. And this means, in the first place, they're astoundingly incompetent. I have a lot of sympathy with what drove people to vote for Trump, but I'm telling you, as someone who's on the front row to what's happening, do not hitch your wagon to that star. Thank you. You're supposed to boo.
You guys do not understand how incredibly brave it is to come in a room of people who you're gonna, that they're like, oh, hey, how you doing, David? And David's like, and let me trash you for the next 12 minutes in a classy argument way that is not disrespectful. I mean, we'll finish. But he's right. Listen, the same 34 colleges, when you start talking to these people in Wall Street and all these places, they're the same colleges, the same people. If you look at Stripe, PayPal Mafia, please go look up PayPal Mafia. Go do it on your own time. I'm telling y'all, all those same people, Elon Musk, PayPal, all of them together, the same company, Stripe, all the money is in the creations of a lot of these software companies, the SaaS, software as a service companies, were the same 100 guys from the same colleges. And so when I sit here and tell you, like, you're fighting with one arm tied behind your back when you're saying, I'm not going to school. Okay, cool. And I'm not going to buy a home. And I'm like, dude, you're not even in the game. You know, even if you just bought 2 acres of land, you'd be higher up in the game than most. Right? There's a couple of people who are Black farmers who are children are kind of returning home, and they're now selling the meat direct, and I mean getting government contracts with Austin, Texas, out of Houston. Like, she's in Houston, she's got a government contract to provide all the beef to the school in Austin on the wealthy side of town. And I just want you to understand how powerful that is to have land. It's like second, third generation. And then on top of that, come back. She went to TCU she lived in New York, then came down and went to TCU. She was the first person to get a degree from their ranch management program. First Black person ever. We're talking about in 2022, in the 2020s, right? First Black person ever. And now she's selling her meat directly. Like, the power and generational wealth that's actual, like, live money in their pocket now is life changing. And if you understand that there's already a party going on, you're just not at the table yet. A lot of people aren't at the table. And you sometimes have to build your own table. So let me finish this, though.
Pete Hegseth gave away our bargaining chips with Putin before we even had negotiations. Elon Musk has 25-year-olds firing people who are controlling our nuclear codes. It's like Sam Bankman-Fried got control of our nuclear arsenal. Second, elite narcissism causes them to eviscerate every belief system they touch. Conservatives believe in healthy societies are built on healthy institutions. They're anti-institutionals. Conservatives believe in steady and gradual change, Edmund Burke. They're disruption. Conservatives believe in constitutional government. Donald Trump says, I alone can fix this. Conservatives believe in moral norms. They're destroying moral norms. The other belief system that they are destroying is Judeo-Christian faith. Judeo-Christian faith is based on service to the poor, service to the immigrant, service to the stranger. I went to Namibia, South Africa throughout the 1990s and 2000s, and I watched people die of AIDS. Then I went back with my friend Mike Gerson, and I saw those 25 million lives saved. I saw people living lives of dignity. And so what's the first thing Donald Trump did? He eviscerated that program. My friends in America are conservative evangelicals in government who want to fight sex trafficking, poverty. They want to preserve national security. Donald Trump is declaring war on those Christians. So I've described 3 different.
So we got to be careful on that one. He's talking about the USAID program. And to me, to be meddling in these other countries and telling them, hey, you better provide condoms, you better provide LGBTQ training to your people is too far. That's too far. America's reaching too far when we're starting to go in those countries and tell those people how to do those things. I think that's outside of our bounds. And if we've been giving aid all these millions of years, essentially providing jobs for people, those countries should have at this point now stood up. That's my only pushback on that one. But in general, yes, I think a lot of people are milking the great cow that is America. Whether you guys want to agree it's the great cow, that's your choice. But we are the great cow that people drink from. So
things we educated elites brought you. We destroyed the social fabric through inequality. We destroyed the moral fabric through privatizing morality. And we destroyed the institutional fabric, what's happening right now. How can we come back? Well, we already are. I often ask people, tell me about a time that made you who you are as a human being. And they never say, I went on a fantastic vacation in Hawaii. They never say that. They say, I went through a really hard time. The death of someone, the loss of someone, moving away from home, entering a new vocation. Paul Tillich, the theologian, said those moments of suffering interrupt your life and they remind you you're not the person you thought they were. They carve through the floor of your basement of your soul and they reveal a cavity below, and they carve through that floor and they reveal a cavity below. In moments of suffering, you see yourself in a more deep way than you ever did before. And in those moments of suffering, you can either be broken or you can be broken open. And people who are transformed decide, I'm going to be broken open. And nations that are going to be transformed by moments of suffering say, we're going to be broken open. We've been through periods of national crisis before. Across the world, nations have constantly hit a spiritual and cultural crisis and then revives. This country between 1820 and 1848. I was here in the 1980s. Britain recovered in the 1980s. Australia in the 1970s, Germany and Japan after World War II, South Korea in the 1980s, Rwanda after 1994, Chile in the 1990s. My own country, we've done this again and again. We've grown not through a happy, merry ride. We've grown through a process of rupture and repair when society and culture is in crisis and we figure it out. 17.
So I would say on that, I'd heavily agree, but I also want people to understand that we still have people telling people that they never recovered from 2008. So again, he's correct. Broken or broken open. Switch jobs, reskill, reset. But you literally have grown adults telling you they haven't recovered since, some of them say since the .com bubble. And I'm like, well, what kind of debt were you in? Were you in millions of debt? Did you just not change your lifestyle? Did you not change what you were doing? And again, industrialization of many of the Midwest Rust Belt towns, that did contribute to people not being able to kind of bounce back. But also some of these families at that point have to make a decision. Are they going to move or they're not going to move? And what you find is they're not moving. They're not reskilling, they're not moving, and they're dying deaths of despair. But again, broken open and broken are two different things, but I'll let this continue. So we can wrap it up.
70s, the old colonial order had to go. 1830s, the East Coast elite had too much power. Andrew Jackson brought in an era of populism. 1860s, the slavery order had to go. Abraham Lincoln brought forth national redemption. 1890s, we had failed at industrialization. We had a civic renaissance of all these civic organizations that filled in the hole and created a sane society. 1960s, the conformist culture of the 1950s had to go. And we had the changes that came there. The temptation of those who don't read history is to think this time is different. We're in another period of rupture and repair. We have spiritual resources. I'm a conservative. I believe that we are inheritors of a great spiritual legacy, what Michael Oakeshott called the Great Conversation. We have the voice of Genesis, that we're all made in God's image. That's the foundation of democracy. We have the voice of Exodus, that we wander through the wilderness and eventually get to the promised land. We have the voice of Jesus, even if you're not Christian. Blessed are the meek, blessed are the poor in spirit. That's a source of great strength. In my country, we have the voice of Alexander Hamilton. Poor boys and girls should rise and succeed. We have the voice of Edmund Burke. That we should be modest about what we can know because culture is really complicated and we should operate on society the way we would operate on our Father, gradually and carefully.
Let me play that back. Gotta play that last part back again.
Culture is really complicated, and we should rise and succeed. We have the voice of Edmund Burke, that we should be modest about what we can know, because culture is really complicated, and we should operate on society the way we would operate on our father, gradually and carefully. We have the voice of John Stuart Mill. We value diversity and pluralism because it leads to what he called adventures in living. When you have a spiritual, moral, and relational crisis, the job is to shift the culture. And we are moving, I think, from a hyper-individualistic culture the last 60 years toward a communal culture. I didn't like the social justice movement, but it was an attempt to find community. I'm not particularly a big fan of MAGA, but it's an attempt to find community. Culture change is about a shifting of the heart. It's about providing new answers to the question, how should I live my life? It's about soulcraft. And it isn't done the way you do political change. Culture change works differently. It's done, as Walter Batchett put it, if you want to win people over, enjoy the things that conservatives enjoy. Culture changes when a creative minority find a beautiful way to live. Culture changes when a small group of people find a better way to live and the rest of us copy. That's the story of the early church. It's the story of the Clapham sect. They weren't my cup of tea, but it's the story of Bloomsbury. I was mentored by William F. Buckley. It's the story of the conservative movement in America. Culture changes on a personal level. When we relate to each other with attentive and generous gaze. Simone Weil said, attention is the purest form of generosity. Culture changes on a spiritual level. T.S. Eliot said, you can't create a system so perfect that the people in it don't have to be good. It's when you put moral formation at the center of your society. And finally, it happens at the civic level. When 1,000 voices and 1,000 different organizations create civic institutions that provide healing and relationship in society. That's how culture changes.
Okay. I love this. I want you guys to watch this on your own, on your free time. He's in London, by the way. That's probably why you're like, why is he speaking like that? He is in London, speaking with those folks. But at the end of the day, here's what I want y'all to get from this. And William F. Buckley, you can go look all that up. It's a social justice movements he was talking about. Is some of the George Floyd stuff, some of the woke stuff, what people have been calling woke. It is an attempt to find community. It is an attempt to find people that are thinking like you. Same thing with the MAGA movement. It is an attempt to find community. Another thing that's happening as we talk about culture wars is we're going to a lot of people going, I'm gonna move further out. I'm gonna do the homestead thing. I'm gonna get some chickens. I'm gonna go take my kids out of public schools. And you will start to see more of a cultural shift that way. The whole trad wife thing on the internet, which is exhausting because the girls are working, but they're trying to make it like they're not working. They're staying home because their husband. Anyway, that is a moment to seek community. Just like when I told you at my church, we had 46 people get baptized. That is a moment to seek community. And you will be seeing this shift. Now, what should you take from this video? This was a little bit longer than I thought I was going to make it. But long story short, you're going to see more people go to college. And they're going to be frustrated because that old mantra, if I just go to school and I have a degree, I should have a job. I should have a life I want. I should have kids and a big old picket house and all this other stuff, right? That is not what's going to happen. What's going to take is you having a bottom financially and spiritually and saying, okay, what do I want? And what does it look like? And how much does it cost? And let me go get that. And everybody won't succeed. That's the thing about America. You have an opportunity to win. It doesn't mean you will win, but it should not be rigged against majority of Black society, majority of Latino society. And the only thing that's stopping y'all, I would say right now, white supremacy is an old dog with 3 teeth. If you can get around, and I know people hate hearing that, why should I have to work around? I just want to be mediocre. I just want to be a regular old Black person. I get all that. But your goal is honestly, depending on if you have kids and family, is decide what that goal is. If you want to go leave America and go lollygag other places, go, please enjoy yourself. Have a blast. If not, if you want to be here, you want to be competitive. Again, you have literally Chinese and Russian citizens coming here to have babies. Flying here to deliver an American baby. Get in the game. Buy some land. Buy a house. Attend some of these tax deductions. Look at this information. They're selling America by the tons. There's a podcast called Water Wars where the guy's talking about all these Saudi Arabian companies buying up land in America, growing fruit and vegetables and alfalfa, which is illegal to grow in their country because it's very water heavy, and shipping it back to their countries. They're gonna see that in the next couple years. You already got California with the water wars over there. But I want you to understand, as things are being reset, do you have the skills in place to do anything? Do you have skills to build anything? Do you have skills, technical skills? Can you get a tech job? What can you do? And just being a receptionist and answering phones is not it. I'm just gonna go there real quick. It ain't it. You're gonna have to figure out, where do you want to be in this system? And I hope this is helpful. Hope this was a good lunch video for you guys. Have a wonderful day. I'm at a conference here in town, but again, I may do a later show, may not. So you guys, this is your girl Erica, Classic on Blog. Have a great day.
This is David W. Williams, and I'm giving a testimony to Erica Williams and her team. Because of the advertising relationship that we were able to develop, my company had the best month in the month of November for the whole year of 2024. And I'm talking about our sales were 3 or 4 times any other month during that particular year. And I know it's because of the relationship that I had with Erica and how she worked with me as an advertising partner. So now here's the benefit of working with her and her team. She's going to communicate to you what you're going to get as a result of working with her. She's going to over deliver on her value that she's providing, right? And she's not going to do a one-off deal. She's going to really invest in your success because she's really invested in making sure that you're going to get a success story from working with her as an advertising partner. So if you're looking to drive more sales, you're looking to bring in more leads, and you're also looking to get more exposure to what you're doing, you want to reach out to Erica and ask her, can I